Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Meditations with Josh and friends. We're finishing our study of Gideon today, and if you're joining us for the first time, we're doing a study of Judges, walking through this portion of the Old Testament. And we've spent all week with Gideon because Gideon is a deep and complex guy. He's also one of the most relatable, in my opinion. When we met Gideon, he's this weak, coward guy. He's threshing wheat in the floor of a wine press, so he can't be seen by his enemies. And this angel of the Lord comes to him and says, Gideon, mighty warrior, God is going to help you do some really cool stuff. Mainly, take care of all these Midianites and Amalekites that continue to terrorize you, and take all your crops and make you live in the hills. So over time, we see Gideon kind of progressing and transforming, going from this really weak and feeble, scared guy who thinks very little of himself to now becoming this great army general. And when we left off yesterday, we were talking about the beginning of his victory over the Midianites as he was empowered and encouraged by his sneaky spy listening, right? He sneaks down into the camp and hears these two warriors talking about this dream that one of them had, and it was like this biscuit rolled into camp and knocked over a tent and flattened everything, and the other warrior says, surely this is Gideon, the mighty warrior. And so there's already this kind of bubbling fear that exists among them, which gives Gideon the courage to attack them, and he does. And all the people scatter who are in this camp, all the opposing warriors. And so we see at the close of the chapter the death of Oreb and Zeb, which are these Midianite officers who are probably like superior officers if they're mentioned here in the story. And then he's got them on the run. So Gideon's got the Midianites on the run. They're all scattering and fleeing, and he sends out word to all the remaining tribes who are in the general area. He says, hey, listen, we've got these guys on the run. Come down from your homes, come out of your houses, help me get these guys. Let's take care of them once and for all. So they're in pursuit of the two kings, Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. And they come to this town. They come to two towns. The first one is Succoth. And they're tired and they're hungry, and Gideon says, hey, town of Succoth, my guys are hungry, and can you spare some bread and some water for them? And Succoth says, I don't know about you guys. And he's like, come on, we're going to go take care of these Midianite kings. And Succoth replies, well, I mean, it's not like you have them in captivity with you right now. So, I mean, if you don't, essentially kill them, and then we've given you water, then I don't know, that could be bad for us. So we're going to pass. That's a hard pass. Sorry. And Gideon says, okay, very well. When I do catch these guys, and I will catch these guys, I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat you to death with thorns and briars, and it's just going to be terrible for you. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Carry on. And he leaves. And he comes to another town, and this other town is called Penuel. And he basically has the same conversation with them. Hey, can I get some bread and water for my guys? They're really tired. Penuel basically says the same thing. I don't know. And he says, okay, very well. So this beautiful tower that you have here, that's kind of the centerpiece of your town, I'm going to come back and I'm going to knock it down. So just, that's going to happen. See ya. And he goes and he pursues Zebah and Zalmunna, and ultimately he captures them. And he sends word to Succoth and Penuel. It's a reckoning. It's coming, guys. I told you this was going to happen. And he does. He holds his word. He goes back and he beats the men of Succoth with briars and thickers and thorns and things, and he teaches them a lesson. And then he goes back and he knocks down the tower of Penuel, and he killed everybody in the city. Kind of bogus, right? So then he has to deal with Zebah and Zalmunna, and he says to his oldest son, he says, go ahead and take care of them, just kill them. And these two kings say, wait. And the son is like not hot to move either. He's kind of afraid. He's a young guy. He doesn't draw his sword when his dad tells him to kill these guys. And so these kings are saying, hey, Yeah. If you're such a big, strong guy, why don't you kill us yourself? And Gideon says, very well. So he kills him. Let's pause. All right. So remember in the beginning, Gideon, he's in the wine press. He's afraid to move. He's afraid to do anything. He puts out a series of fleeces. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure you want me? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. And now we see him commanding armies. He's infiltrating camps. He's spying. He's pursuing. He's threatening people. Oh, I'm going to come back for you. You've done this. Okay, I'm going to come back for you. And then he holds his word, and he's slaughtering villages and things like that for not giving them food and water. And then he comes to his son, hey, kill these kings. I want you to do this. And he doesn't. So he does it himself. And there's the transition, because it's a lot easier in battle to order your men to do something, order your men to take a village, order your men to pursue this, to pursue that, take the heads of these guys. It's a lot easier to do that because you're removed from it. But when you do it yourself, that's kind of the ultimate transformation, and that's the key point here that we see when Zebah and Zalmunna challenge him, and he responds by killing them. Then the people rejoice, and everyone's like, "Hey, Gideon, you're the best, man. We love you. We want you to rule over us, and then we want your son to rule over us, and then we want your grandson to rule over us. Yeah, because you're so cool, and you're a powerful dude." And Gideon, he does the right thing. He replies, I'm not the one who's going to rule over you, and my son won't rule over you either. The Lord rules over you. Like, hey, reminder, God, the God, the one who rescued us from Israel or Egypt. Yeah, he rules. He's the one. We need to be worshiping him. And he says, but, since we're kind of on the topic and you all are feeling generous, can I have all the earrings that you have acquired in your spoils of war? And so the people say, yeah, absolutely. So they give him all the earrings, which is, what does it say? 1,700 shekels of gold, which is about 400 pounds of gold. Not including, all these other gold pieces that they found on their animals and other things like that. So Gideon fashioned a priestly vest out of it, and he put it in his hometown of Ophrah. And all Israel became unfaithful there because of it. And it became a trap for Gideon and his household. And so a vest is it's called an ephod. And we see this in the Old Testament as well with the garment of the priests. They would wear an ephod. And it says all of Israel became unfaithful there. Because of this ephod, this 400-pound golden vest. I mean, you couldn't even wear it, right? So, what's the point of it? But it's a symbol. It's a symbol of authority. It's a symbol of power. It's a symbol of, even in some ways, kind of remembrance. You could, I guess, liken it to a commemoratory plaque. Like, hey, remember when we slayed all the Midianites because God was with us? That was awesome. So check out this 400-pound golden breastplate, to remember that. And everybody wanted it. So the greed of everybody's hearts was inflamed by this thing. And so anyway, that happens. And then there's 40 years of peace. 40 years of peace. Gideon's there. And he gets, wealthy. And he has all these wives. And he has 70 sons. And then he has this concubine who he has a son with. And he's kind of this lone character. His name is Abimelech. And Abimelech is going to be the next judge that we study. And remember how I told you before how Judges is sort of this series, this decline of Israel and the quality of their judges. Abimelech is pretty bad. He's no good. But we're going to study him starting next week. But let me just wrap up Gideon by saying this. There's a saying that says, if you want to know a man's character, give him power. And with Gideon, we see, that transformation happening and the power kind of going to his head, where he becomes almost merciless to these villages, Succoth and Penuel, where they don't give him bread and water, and he beats them, and in some cases he kills everybody in the village. So that's kind of the point that I want to highlight today, is like how power can go to our heads. How we pray for something in times of need, and God responds with mercy and grace, and He empowers us to do things to overcome our burdens and trials and whatever, and how that power resides in us, and then we have a choice of what to do with it. We can continue to do good things. We can continue to be close to God and continue on our spiritual sanctification journey, or we can kind of take an off ramp and use that power for things that end up being destructive and ultimately harmful and separate us from our relationship with God. So I don't know if that exists in your life today. I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that, but I do want you to consider the aspect of power and what power does for you and what power does to you. And we will pick up our study next week, starting with Abimelech. I hope you'll join us for worship on Sunday as we welcome our new pastor. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.